Ontario announces major OPP infrastructure investments, including a new regional headquarters in Thunder Bay. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Ford government is building 13 new state-of-the-art facilities for the Ontario Provincial Police, including 4 new police detachments in the Northwest and that new headquarters here in our city. The OPP's current regional headquarters has been inside the Ministry of Transportation building on South James Street for over a decade. There's no word on where the new facility will be built. Infrastructure Ontario is seeking qualified firms to help design, build, and finance the new headquarters and the 12 OPP detachments. The 4 area communities with existing detachments are Ignace, Kenora, Red Lake, and Sioux Lookout. The last time a major OPP facilities renewal was carried out, new detachments were built in Fort Frances and Marathon at a cost of about $20 million apiece. The province hasn't provided a timeline or an estimated total cost this time around. Greenstone OPP have charged one person with second-degree murder in connection to a death in that community earlier this month. 32-year-old Brandon Rich died in hospital after officers responded to what was reported as a medical emergency just after midnight on Thursday, May 15th. Police have now charged a Greenstone resident, 19-year-old Alexis Agamway. They remain in custody and the OPP continues to investigate. Canada Post workers here in Thunder Bay and across the country aren't on the picket line after all today. Instead, union leadership has directed their members not to work any overtime. The union represents about 260 postal workers here in the Northwest. The last strike began on November 15th and ended 4 weeks later when the posties were ordered back to work by the Industrial Relations Board while negotiations continued. Last week, the union filed a strike notice for today after Canada Post put a pause on negotiations. The corporation tabled another offer on Wednesday, and very early this morning, the union put its strike plans on hold, giving its negotiators time to continue to review the offer. Local union president Leo Favreau says he's glad their leadership chose the overtime ban instead of a strike at this time.
This is what I was hoping for all along. I want to see my members making money, and I want to see the public get their mail. And a lot of the stuff that came out of Canada Post, and when their news issues and stuff like that, really didn't make a lot of sense to me. So at least this way they can take the offer that was put out, the 750-page offer, and actually look it over.
Canada Post says customers may experience delays due to the job action. Protests and picket lines have been organized by OPSEU and QP officials, triggered by years of frustration with the Ford government. WSIB workers, represented by QP, have launched a province-wide strike that includes a picket on Balmoral Street, and members of both unions rallied outside MPP Kevin Holland's office. Ryan Graham reports.
Together, OPSEU and QP represent over 50,000 employees around Ontario, including developmental service workers, child protection workers, mental health and addiction specialists, among other critical roles. Local members from the two unions were protesting in front of local MPP Kevin Holland's office, hoping to bring proper support for employees and the crucial services they bring to Thunder Bay. OPSEU Local 740 President Cindy Mazan says their grievances all date back to 2018.
So go back to when the Ford government implemented Bill 124 and took away our ability to bargain a fair contract. And at that time, we were only able to bargain 1%. What we're here today is asking the Ford government to increase base budgets for organizations such as ours and an additional 6.5% and earmark that towards wages so we can catch up with what we should have had during the Bill 124 3-year moderation period.
The local rep for QP, Lisa Steenerson, says underfunding has not only caused unfair work wages, but also highly challenging work conditions to serve the community, including the deaf and hard of hearing.
They have not had a fair wage increase. With the cost of inflation going up, they don't have, their lifestyle has changed because It's just not an affordability with all the changes in the prices. Their caseload is tripled, and they just don't have enough people to help the deaf or hard of hearing community.
Holland was not in his office and was therefore not available to comment on the protest. Meanwhile, QP members who work for the WSIB were back on the picket line after the province-wide strike that began on Thursday. Return-to-work specialist for QP, Fiona McKenna, emphasizes the critical upgrades required for things to move forward.
We want a collective agreement. We want to maintain some good wages that befits the skill and effort that we put in. We'd like the employer to stop taking away employment-related benefit ideas and water down job progression pathways. We want to protect opportunities for our workers.
Ryan Graham, TBT News.
Premier Doug Ford is defending his government's controversial Bill 5 despite mounting concern over environmental impacts and First Nations rights. The bill has been widely criticized for the proposed creation of so-called special economic zones that would allow the government to sidestep existing regulations. CTV's Siobhan Morris has the latest from Queen's Park.
They traveled over 1,000 kilometers from Ontario's north to the provincial legislature in downtown Toronto. Indigenous leaders demanding their concerns be heard on Bill 5. Tariff-era legislation meant to speed up development of mines, including in the Ring of Fire, about 500 kilometers north of Thunder Bay. A committee meeting on the bill this week was sometimes tense.
You're not answering my question. You're just blowing smoke.
The government says it takes as long as 15 years to get a new mine into operation. Not workable in the face of economic pressure from the U.S.
We will support Canada in your fight with, uniting, but it can't be at the expense of our lands and our families.
The Minister of Mines insists he's open to feedback.
It's important that we listen, we hear perspective, but we don't lose sight of what we're trying to achieve, which is economic self-reliance.
But Indigenous leaders say if the bill goes ahead as written, it sends a message.
The Ontario values speed and industry over reconciliation and short-term profits over long-term relationships.
The bill would also allow the government to suspend some provincial and local laws by creating special economic zones. The Ring of Fire in line for that designation.
We are a treaty partner to Ontario, and you need to be serious about fulfilling those obligations that you have.
The government maintains the bill doesn't only respect the duty to consult First Nations on development.
In my experienced view, enhance it to the extent that we'll be able to talk about common interests, common goals.
The legislation shifts consultation to be about a project as a whole rather than each step along the way.
Thank you.
The Premier acknowledges there are divisions among First Nations about mining in their communities, but defends his government's approach.
People elected us to move quick, and that's exactly what we're going to do. But it's for the betterment of that region, the communities, First Nations, and for all of Ontarians.
The government has committed some $3 billion to help Indigenous communities participate in mining. But one council member says that's throwing money at the issue. It's not the real engagement her community is after. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
One person has died in a house fire in Sandy Lake First Nation. A spokesperson for Anishinaabe Police say they received a call for service about a residential fire just after 5 o'clock yesterday evening. 9 occupants escaped the blaze, but one person was confirmed dead. Community firefighters were also on scene to bring the fire under control. The scene is now being held and NAPS is investigating. Nawsum University is preparing to develop a new strategic plan for 2026 to 2030, and the med school hosted a town hall in Thunder Bay yesterday afternoon to get input. Faculty, students, and the general public came out to provide their feedback. Nawsum separated from Lakehead and Laurentian universities in 2022 to become a standalone university. The attendees provided comments on what they'd like to see the med school focus on in the coming years. Nawsum U President Mike Green spoke about the importance of listening to the people who live in Northern Ontario.
NOSM is here because of the North and for the North. So it's really important for us to hear the voices of all the people who have an interest in NOSM University, which I think is pretty much everyone in Northern Ontario, to let us know what's important to them and what we should be focusing on as we move into the future.
NOSM also has another event planned for its Sudbury campus at the end of the month. Public safety, particularly on transit, was among the main concerns raised by residents at Police Chief Darcy Fleury's latest Chat with the Chief event at Waverley Library last night. The public engagement session also saw conversations focused on the rise of theft at local businesses and what the police and the businesses themselves can do to help prevent it. Other attendees expressed how they feel unsafe in public spaces and, as mentioned, while using city transit. Fleury says they take the feedback from all of these engagement sessions and bring it right to the police board.
So a lot of what we do is we have a constant conversation with the board. So they're in the process of doing the strategic plan for the next 5 years. We feed that, and this conversations that we have here, we advise the board this is what we're seeing from our people as to what they want to see in their policing. So that could, between the strategic plan and our action plan, could kind of fall into those pieces, and then just go from there.
Fleury encourages any organizations or agencies that want to talk to reach out through the Thunder Bay Police website. The 2025 Superior Quilt Show is now underway at the CLE Coliseum. The three-day event is a celebration of quilters and their craftsmanship. Emma Chilton has more.
Quilting enthusiasts are gathering at the Coliseum building to view the quilt art, tools, and materials. The event gives attendees the opportunity to learn new techniques from experienced quilters, and all skill levels are welcome to participate. Event coordinator Cindy Coquel says the annual quilt show not only showcases the works of art, but also has demonstrations for the participants.
Well, actually, every 2 years, the Thunder Bay Quilters Guild puts on a show of all our members' work. So this is our 44th year of the Guild, and this is our show this weekend. So we're Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the CLE Coliseum. We have almost 200 quilts in the show, plus, as you can see, 10 different vendors. We have a booth with all the products that our members have made for sale. We've got a cafe with food. We're doing demos, 9 or 10 different demos all throughout the weekend. And it's just a fabulous showcase of our quilts, wall hangings, clothing, any form of quilting, from traditional, where people hand piece or hand quilt, all the way to modern quilts.
Sewing skills are not only for quilts, but also for other uses. Coquel says it's important to showcase the Guild's work because they also contribute to the community.
We do a lot of community service work as well. Like we provide, if you've ever gone into any of the senior homes or any shelters, we provide a lot of the quilts that are in those places. We also do over 600 placemats throughout the year that we give to Meals on Wheels in all the senior homes. We did 263 teddy bears last year that we gave to children's charities.
This quilt exhibition features quilts from local, national, and international artists. There are designs ranging from traditional to modern styles, such as textile quilting, which does not require sewing and is printed onto fabrics. Fabric designer Ana Paula Brazil says this allows for non-sewers to design quilts and art too.
When you vendor here in the show, it's an amazing opportunity for you to show your creations. I'm fabric designer and I bring the new collections. And the vendors bring lots of new stuff for the market. It's a really nice opportunity for the quilters see and buy the new notions and fabrics and threads for a quilt.
The quilt show will continue on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Emma Chilton, TBT News.
The Great Benjamin Circus is back in Thunder Bay for another year. The Big Blue Tent is set up at the CLE grounds, offering family-friendly entertainment to people of all ages. The first show started at 4:30 with another to follow at 7:30 this evening. The circus acts include the thrilling Wheel of Destiny, the Globe of Death motorcycle stunts, international trapeze artists, and an old-fashioned circus atmosphere. Alexa Padilla, who performs a foot juggling act with her father, says she enjoys entertaining the crowd under the big top.
We're going to have like clowns, trapeze, foot jugglings, jugglers, motorcycles, wheel. We have everything. It's a family show, so it's amazing. I do foot juggling. I do like carpets with my foot, and I do a lot of stuff with my legs. I do the act with my dad, so together we're doing the foot juggling.
The Great Benjamin Circus continues all weekend with 3 more shows tomorrow and 2 on Sunday. We'll turn to weather now, and Fiona, tonight, not a bad night to go and check out the circus. It's not like you have to fear missing out on the sun. Today was another gray one, very similar to what we saw yesterday.
Yes, and the very good chance it'll do it again tomorrow. We're kind of locked into the systems that are in northwestern Ontario. Today in the city of Thunder Bay, it was a little warmer than yesterday. Yesterday we topped out with a high of 11. Today we managed to hit 15 after starting the day with a low of 9. Winds continue to be from the north. That's pulling down some cooler air in our region. We did have a couple of very, very brief showers. And when I say showers, it was more like just spitting on your window if you're out driving, not really enough to require an umbrella. You can see this system, the center of it is actually well to the southeast, but today it continued to just sit there rotating around. It's rotating in a counterclockwise manner, and that's why we get that cooler air pulled down, and that's why so much cooler to the eastern side of Lake Superior. To the west, once again, like yesterday, lots of sunshine, just a couple of clouds here and there, and temperatures almost seasonal, 17 in Red Lake and Kenora at this hour, 16 in Sioux Lookout, Fort Frances 15, as is Dryden. But once you head to north of Lake Superior and a little bit further east, you can see the temperatures dropping and the clouds really being prominent. Gray skies in both Armstrong and Greenstone, although Armstrong did see rain begin just a couple of hours ago. 7 in Greenstone, 9 in Nipigon, 8 in Sault Ste. Marie. So those are the coolest spots. Sault Ste. Marie had rain all last night, all this morning, but this afternoon it's been dry, but mostly cloudy. And as you can see, very cool. Never got above 9 Celsius throughout the day. Here in the city of Thunder Bay, we're looking at a low of 3 under partly cloudy skies, which means there is a slight risk of frost. You might want to keep an eye on your plants, and winds will be very light. And as I said, hopefully folks didn't mind today, because it's looking like we're going to get to do it all over again tomorrow as this system just slows down the process of that warmer air in the western half of the country that we want to see. Basically, southern Manitoba is hogging it. We want a little bit more, and we're going to work on that.
Yeah, we'd like to take some of that from southern Manitoba, but they don't seem all that eager to give it up.
Seasonal levels.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we get there soon. Thanks a lot, Fiona.